Joan Fontaine was a Hollywood star when they were American royalty. They were superhuman, incredibly beautiful, and mostly untouchable. They didn't mix with presidents, presidents mixed with them. Joan Fontaine was one of the originals from Hollywood's golden age. She was nominated 3 times for an Oscar, winning for her role in Suspicion. She also had a legendary, almost lifelong feud with her elder sister, Oliver de Havilland, who also won an Oscar. In those days, Hollywood stars didn't talk, they declaimed and they gushed, as you will hear. I don't remember doing this interview or where it took place or even what she looked like. In 1967, she was 50 years old and lived for almost another 50 years, dying in 2013. This is not a good interview and lasts just over 6 minutes, which, I think you'll agree, is quite enough.
Martin Bronstein, I'm speaking with JOAN FONTAINE, who's here to speak at a combined Jewish appeal dinner. Ms. Fontaine, do you do many of these dinners?
I've done many of these. Now, I do other things as well. I'm chairman for the American Hearing Society, and I did a tape recording for the Canadian Hearing Society, as a matter of fact, not long ago, and many other things like that.
How many films have you made so far? It's in the 30s, I think, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's more than that. I've lost count.
When do you lose count? After the first one?
I've made so many, is what I'm trying to say. I can't remember them all, and I certainly haven't counted them lately.
What is your most memorable film to you?
Naturally, I'm very grateful because of doing Rebecca, which sort of started me off. However, my 2 most favorite ones are The Constant Nymph and another one called Letter from an Unknown Woman, which was adapted from a story by Stefan Zweig. And in both of those movies, I played children. And I was always rather a ill child, I suppose, and it was really like having a childhood, though it was on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been completely satisfied with any one role that you've done?
Oh, I don't think anybody ever is, no. Whatever anyone does, I don't think they're satisfied.
What one particular film stands out in your mind as being most enjoyable to make?
Probably The Constant Nymph, as it was directed by a marvelous man called Edmund Goulding, and he was an actor's director. He really cared and created such a joyful atmosphere that you find yourself doing things that you didn't think you could do even, and that's, to me, what a director should do for you, and very few do.
Do you find that you, when you're trying to create a role yourself, you often come up against the director's version of the same role?
Oh, I think yes, on the stage or screen, certainly one does. And it's very difficult. They often have a preconceived idea of exactly how they want it, and very often they're unable to translate that to the actor, so that there's an enormous gap of understanding between the two.
Who do you think should win out in this kind of battle of director and star?
Well, I don't think there's any winning, and I don't think there's any battle. I think it should be understanding, and as a creative thing, it should come from both of them.
You say the 2 of your favorite roles were as children. Now, what do you look for in roles that are now offered to you in films?
I'm about to do one, as a matter of fact. I'm going to England in the spring and do a picture called The Devil's Own, written by mystery story writer Nora Lofts. And that should be rather fascinating. I bought the book myself 2 years ago, and now we're at last going to do it for Hammer Films. And I have one other one that I don't really want to talk about, but I would like to do.
When you say you bought the book yourself, you bought the film rights of the book?
Yes, that's right.
Are you a producer in this?
No.
You just own the film rights in it?
And have sold them to Hammer Productions, and they will make the film.
Mm-hmm. What do you look for in a particular role that will make you like a role and accept a role now?
Well, one that isn't trite. I've been offered several scripts that I've had to turn down. Naturally, I like to do the emotional and romantic and comedic, too. I love to do comedy. But I don't like to do anything which is so far remote to my own personality that all the friends and fans that I've built in my life would be shocked by it, such as some of the horror films that are being made today. I frankly, myself wouldn't want to do that unless the role were enormously challenging.
What do you think is the biggest change that has come over films in the last 20 years?
They're being made abroad and not in the United States. I've just seen a marvelous English film called Darling, and that's one of the best films I've seen in a long, long time. You make some marvelous films in Canada, too.
Do you think this new freedom is good, or do you think they're going too far?
You're talking about censorship?
Or lack of censorship?
I don't believe in any kind of censorship, either for books or movies or anything else. I think you select what you go to see as you select the homes of your friends that you go to. I think it's up to the individual themselves. I think that any censorship is a very dangerous thing.
The Hollywood Code of Censorship, which is the industry's own code, seems to have turned out to be far more stricter than any other form of government censorship. Do you think
It used to be ridiculous. You couldn't photograph anybody in a bedroom, a married couple, unless the door was open. That sort of thing, it made no sense whatsoever.
Going back to your own career, what has a film career given you that you treasure most?
Oh, freedom, I presume, and the opportunity to meet marvelous people, to travel, to have financial security, and above all, probably, the chance to express myself and become something myself instead of just my my parents' daughter.
On the other hand, what has it given you that you resent?
Lack of privacy, I would say. Often a preconceived notion of what they think you're like and how you behave, which is very often quite erroneous. I think, unfortunately, and I'm the same way with other people, so there's nothing one can do about it, an estrangement because you are in the limelight and there's a little awe, even with your own friends, and probably a tendency to be more critical of you than they would be somebody that wasn't very well known. So often I hear people, let us say, name-dropping in a critical way to say that they know these people, but they know them so well that they don't think very much of them, and that is a pity. But I remember I was meeting other actors and rather clamming up myself as to what to talk to them about. In other words, I think even we think we're freaks.
You've been named Best Dressed Woman in the Best Dressed Woman list. You do interior decorating. I hear that you also do something with citrus grows. If you hadn't taken acting, film acting, as your number one career, what would you have done instead?
I think I might have written or painted. I adore painting. I don't really know. I do so many things that acting is almost a sideline.
And you have no one particular profession that you would rather have taken up?
Oh, I can't think. I would hate to be restricted to any one thing in the artistic field or any other field, any more than I would hate to be restricted to one city to live in.
Miss JOAN Fontaine, thank you very much for speaking with us.